Presenting Hop Harrigan, America's ace of the airways.
CX-4 calling control towers. CX-4 calling control towers. Standing by.
Control tower back to CX-4. Wind southeast. Ceiling 1200. All clear.
Okay, this is Hop Harrigan coming in.
Yes, it's America's ace of the airways. Coming in for another transcribed episode in the adventures of Hop Harrigan. You know, fellas and girls, it's becoming a fact that anything under the sun can be shipped by air. Everything from mushrooms to bees to midget racing cars and even ham sandwiches have joined the parade of articles carried by air. In 1947, cargo operations of airlines more than doubled. A survey made by United Airlines of last year's air shipping operations brings out a lot of small facts that add up to a record year for the airlines. For example, United Airlines carried about 50,000 pounds of mushrooms from one grower in Salem, Oregon, to markets in San Francisco and Los Angeles. Shipments ranged from several hundred to 1,000 pounds and were flown as far as 1,000 miles. Loads were placed aboard planes in the evening and flown to Los Angeles in time to be sold the following morning in a fresh and marketable condition. Mushrooms, you know, are very perishable. They spoil very quickly after they're gathered. A long trip by rail or truck is liable to leave them in bad condition. But this particular grower in Oregon gets top prices for his mushrooms because of the speed of air freight. Other foods new on Air Express and air freight lists in 1947 were butter, vanilla, crumpets, and king crabs. As for sandwiches, a batch was made one morning in Los Angeles and flown hundreds of miles in time to be eaten for lunch at an outing. From the far-off Hawaiian Islands, products such as tropical flowers, native-made candy, and fresh pineapple come to the States in almost the same condition they left the islands. More later, gang, so don't forget to listen. And now to our story. When Harry Charles, the owner of the Greendale Airport, was shot dead before their very eyes, Hop and Tank knew immediately that he had been killed by the mysterious Lightning Organization to ensure his silence. And when the state police suddenly arrived, answering a call that had been placed 5 minutes before the murder, they realized the organization was trying to pin the crime on them. But they never dreamed how thoroughly the organization operated, for just as they were released by the officer in charge, after telling him their story, George Dudley, another member of the organization who had wrecked their training plane that morning, landed and directly accused them of the murder. Now, it is a half hour later. After taking his statement, the officer in charge has released Dudley and turns to face Hop and Tank.
Well, Harrigan, that sort of puts a different complexion on the case, doesn't it?
Hey, listen, you don't believe that punk, do you? Everything he said was a lie. A couple of guys by the names of Brown and Luigi did the shooting, and that punk Dudley is covering for him.
Well, let's see now. Dudley said that you and Charles were business rivals. Your airport is only 100 miles away. I should imagine the competition would be pretty keen.
It wasn't. There wasn't no competition at all.
And you say you never argued or fought with Charles?
No, never. Hey, look, why should you believe Dudley any more than you believe us?
I didn't say I did, Tinker. Just getting the facts, that's all. Okay, you can go now.
Thank you, officer.
You're returning to Lakeville, aren't you?
That's right.
Well, I suggest you stick pretty close to home for the next couple of days. Headquarters may want to ask you a few more questions.
We'll be there.
Good. So long.
Goodbye, officer. Come on, Tank.
Tank literally steps on his friend's heels in his eagerness to leave the scene of Harry Charles' death. And a few moments later, when the boys are finally airborne again, roaring through the early evening sky back to Lakeville, he complains angrily.
The way he talked, he practically accused us of shooting Harry Charles. He's just trying to collect facts, Tank. He wasn't making any accusations at all. So what do we do now? Well, that's a very interesting question. And what's the interesting answer? Wait. For what? Another visit from Brown and Luigi? I'm sure they'll show up again. What do we tell them this time? Same answer, no sale. So we're right back where we started from. Yeah, but this time I'm going to see if I can find out who the boss of the organization is. Why? We're having enough trouble with just Brown and Luigi. Harry Charles was shot when he started to tell us who the boss was. So keeping his identity a secret must be pretty important to him. Well, you don't think Brown is just going to up and tell you, do you? Well, I'll have to find out some way. We'll have to find out a lot of things some way. So far, we're batting exactly zero. And if we don't start hitting soon, we're either going to find ourselves out of business or dead.
As Tank shakes his head in grim prophecy, Hop opens the throttle a notch wider, anxious to reach Lakeville as soon as possible. After a few minutes of uneventful flight, he suddenly starts, stares out into the night sky beyond his port wingtip, and then exclaims,
Well, I was wondering when he'd show up. Huh? Our pal is back.
Pal? Oh, you mean Dudley?
Yes, off to port. See his navigation lights?
You sure it's him?
Positive. That's the Stinson, all right.
I wonder what he's up to now.
Can't tell yet. He seems to be holding his distance, flying a parallel course.
Hey, is he edging a little closer?
Seems to be.
On your toes, pal. That guy is liable to do anything.
I'm watching him.
Hey, look, if he gets any closer, why don't you give him the business? Fly him right into the ground.
No. Then we'd be playing their dirty game.
Oh, it's working fine for them, ain't it?
But it won't for us. We're staying well within the law. That's our one chance to beat them.
Oh, yeah?
Sure. Catch them in a mistake and we'll have them.
Easier said than done, pal. Hey, he's really flying close now. I swear there ain't 2 inches separating our wingtips.
I can stand it as long as he can.
Yeah, what about me? On the top, there's no telling what that crazy kid will do next.
Relax, Tank.
Relax at a time like this?
Then look the other way or close your eyes.
I can't.
He's handling his ship pretty well. We won't tangle.
Tell me again.
Huh?
I'm trying to talk myself into sleep. Oh, I know it.
Take it easy, will you? We just hit a little bump.
Where's Dudley?
Still holding off our port wing. Followed right through with us.
You mean he ain't come any closer?
If he had, he'd be on our starboard side. No, he hasn't budged an inch.
Hop, I don't get it. What's he up? What's he trying to do?
You got me, pal. Until he makes his next move, we'll just have to ride it out with him.
Hop, this is making a nervous wreck on him. We've been flying wingtip to wingtip for the last 25 minutes. What's Dudley think he's doing?
That's the 25th time you've asked me that question, Tank. I don't know.
Well, something's got to happen soon. Our field's right over the next bridge.
Give me wheels and flaps. I'll start letting down.
Check. Wheels down. Flaps down.
He's losing altitude right with us.
You don't suppose he's going to land with us?
I shouldn't think so.
Oh, brother, if he does...
Hey, there's the field, turning into the approach.
He's turning with us.
That I don't like.
Why not? If he goes in, we'll have him. Boy, would I like to punch his teeth in.
He might be entertaining some cute idea of messing up our landing.
Uh-oh, never thought of that.
Down to 200 feet. He's still holding?
Yeah.
150.
Hey, he's edging over.
I thought so. He's trying to crowd us off the runway.
Hop, move, or we'll lock wing.
Move nothing.
What Hop? He's cutting right into us.
Let him.
Oh, no, I can't look. What happened?
Nothing.
What do you mean, nothing?
We've landed. We're okay.
Where's Dudley?
His bark is worse than his bite. He didn't have the nerve to follow through. He sheared off.
Oh, gosh. I kept seeing his engine winding up in my lap.
Okay. We're on the apron. Pile up.
Pleasure. You suppose Gail's still here?
Well, lights on in the office. Come on.
Funny she ain't come out to meet us like she always does.
Well, maybe she didn't hear us. I know she's on the phone calling the rest of those airports.
Oh, yeah. Look, Hop, we ain't going no place else tonight, are we?
I don't think so. Why?
Well, I ain't had nothing to eat since breakfast.
Yeah, I knew that was a leading question when I asked. Go on in. We'll have dinner later.
Good. Hiya, Gail. We're back.
Did you call those fields? Gail, what's the matter?
Hey, why are you looking at us so funny?
Because you're funny looking, Tinker.
Huh? Brown.
That's right, Harrigan. Close the door, Luigi. Now that the boys are here, we can have a nice, cozy little chat.
The gigantic, shambling figure of Luigi lurches to the door, slamming it closed, as Brown lounges against the wall near the window, smiling arrogantly. What will be the result of this third meeting? We'll know in a moment, gang, so stand by. Now, fellas and girls, let's get back to the air shipping picture and how it stands to shape up during 1948. Many articles took to the air for the first time last year. Loads of washing machines, motion picture projectors, a midget racing car, men's hats, a live tree, live turtles, even some penguins, and a kangaroo. From this country, many items went out by air, including newspapers, magazines, and medical emergencies. Many times, Air Express has saved lives. Iron lungs, shipped by plane to Idaho last year during a polio epidemic, were credited with checking the dread disease. One long-range air shipment toward the close of 1947 helped put out fires raging through the state of Maine. Fire hoses were put aboard speedy cargo planes in Seattle and flown across the country to Bar Harbor, Maine. A dangerous cholera epidemic, threatening thousands of lives in the Middle Eastern countries, ran rampant until serum rushed by air from the United States arrived to save the day. A lot of unusual items attract quite a bit of attention. For instance, the kangaroos and penguins, which were shipped by air. But these are only exceptions to the general cargo of our airlines. Most of them carry, for the most part, such ordinary items as automobile parts, clothing and flowers, fresh fruits and vegetables, electrical equipment, radio and telephone parts. The picture is bright for aviation and air freight, and it's fast becoming a fact that anything under the sun can be shipped by air. And say, gang, aviation is getting to be more a part of our lives every day. There's a great future in the air industry for young men and women. Air leaders are looking to you fellas and girls for the flyers and technicians of tomorrow. So always remember, America needs flyers. And now back to our story. Returning to Lakeville, Hop and Tank are surprised to find Brown and Luigi, representatives of the organization, waiting for them in their office. Gail, seated behind the desk, explains.
I'm sorry, Hop. I couldn't warn you. Luigi was pointing a gun at me.
He wouldn't have, sister, if you'd been more cooperative.
Cut the chatter, punk. What are you doing here?
Now, that's a stupid question, Tinker.
Making another pitch for us to join the organization, huh?
Naturally.
Well, you can take your organization.
Wait, Tank. Listen, Brown, how do we know you're really what you say you are?
Because I tell you.
Yes, but how can we be sure that if we pay you $1,000, you won't just take the money and beat it? And we still won't be in the organization.
Why, Hop.
Hop, you ain't thinking
Please, Tank. How about it, Brown?
The answer is, you don't know.
Well, then it'd be pretty going through you, wouldn't it?
What are you driving at, wise guy?
I want to see someone else in the organization before I join.
Who, for instance?
The boss.
That's what I thought you were getting at.
Well?
You're awful anxious to meet him, aren't you? Too bad Harry Charles couldn't tell you who he is.
Then you did shoot him, didn't you?
Prove it, chum.
We will, sooner or later.
I don't think so. As a matter of fact, the boots are kind of tight on your feet, from what I understand.
Oh, been talking to George Dudley lately?
Maybe. Kid does a good job, doesn't he?
I'll do a good job on him one of these days.
Well, how about it, Brown? Do I meet the boss or don't I?
You've been doing a lot of nosing around, Harrigan.
You're not answering my question.
These papers, for instance.
The list of airports you asked me to call, Hop. We saw it.
They're marked. Guys who've joined and guys who haven't. You're not getting any big ideas, are you, chum?
That depends. Do I meet your boss or don't I?
Okay, Harrigan, it's a deal.
Fine.
But I'm warning you, he only comes to a place once. Then the guys sign up or they're through, you understand?
Yes, I understand.
I don't think you do, but we'll let it go for now. Just remember this, chum. Everything that's happened up to now will be a picnic compared to what'll happen if you don't sign up when the boss gets here.
Yeah, sure. When do you bring him in?
Tomorrow, maybe. Depends on how he feels. Let's go, Luigi. Remember what I'm telling you, Harrigan. The boss don't make trips for nothing. Be seeing you.
Oh, what an utterly repulsive little creature.
You can say that again.
Let's hope he comes through for us.
Bringing the boss in.
Yes.
But how do you know that's going to be good?
Maybe it won't, maybe it will, but at least it'll be better than battling shadows. I've got a hunch our next meeting with Brown, Luigi, and company will be very interesting.
But as Hop looks forward to the meeting, Tank and Gale shake their heads in dismay, remembering Brown's parting thrust. What will happen? Who is the mysterious head of the organization? We'll learn more in our next suspense-packed episode, gang, so don't fail to listen. Tune in and fly with Hop Harrigan, America's ace of the airways. Come on, Hop. We'll be seeing you same time, same mutual station. Hop Harrigan is a transcribed, copyrighted feature appearing in All American Comics magazine. Presenting Hop Harrigan, America's ace of the airways.
CX-4 calling control tower. CX-4 calling control tower. Standing by.
Control tower, back to DX4. Wind southeast, nearly 1,200. All clear.
Okay, this is Hop Harrigan coming in. Yes, it's America's ace of the airways. Coming in for another transcribed episode in the adventures of Hop Harrigan. Say, gang, one of the least publicized branches of aviation, yet one that played an important role in the war, is the Civil Air Patrol. This is an organization of private flyers who have their own planes, men who give their own time and risk their lives sometimes in voluntary missions for the Air Force. The CAP still carries on despite the war's end, and they're doing mighty important work. The history of the Civil Air Patrol goes back to 1941, just 7 days before Pearl Harbor, when the CAP came into being as a part of our system of civilian defense. What was intended to be only a wartime group now has become a full-fledged auxiliary of the Department of the Air Force and has just observed its 6th birthday. Recently, I was able to get hold of the complete story of the CAP, its history, organization, and purpose. What I read convinced me that the CAP is doing great work, not only for the Air Force, but for young fellows and girls interested in aviation. I know many of you are interested in aviation and want to know more about it. Well, the CAP recognizes that many young people today have that interest, and they're helping out, giving Civil Air Patrol cadets realistic courses in aeronautics, mechanics, and many other air subjects. This work is so important to the aviation future of America that I'm going to take the next few days to tell you the great story of the CAP. I know you'll listen closely as the story of the CAP unfolds. In just a few minutes, gang, I'll be back to begin the history, so don't forget to listen. And now to our story. As a mysterious organization, symbolized by a jagged streak of lightning, slowly and relentlessly gains control of private flying in the United States by acts of terror and blackmail, Hop and Tank find themselves fighting a losing battle. Through no fault of their own, they face a complaint of reckless flying and are under suspicion of murder charges that will not be dismissed unless the boys give in and sign with the organization. Now, it is early morning. We find Hop and Tank in their airport office with Gail Nolan checking over a list of airports in a radius of 500 miles from Lakeville, trying to figure out a way of fighting back against the overwhelming power of the organization. As he scans the list, Tank shakes his head.
Out of 25 airports, 20 are already signed up with the organization. What chance have we got?
And in the remaining 5, 3 plan to join, and the other 2 haven't been approached yet.
Yeah, but they're small potatoes, just a couple of landing strips.
Hey, let me see that list again, Tank.
Sure, but it ain't good reading.
Thanks. Hey, Gail, you've crossed off 3 fields. Are they included in 25?
No,
Then why are they crossed out?
no longer in business.
Oh? The Aston Field, Waynesburg Field, Clark Field. Hey, why should Clark fold up? They're doing pretty well.
I don't know. When I called them, they just said they were no longer in operation.
So Ed Blake ran Clark Field, didn't he, Tank?
Yeah, he was doing a good job, too.
Ed isn't the kind of fella that'd take this organization stuff lying down. I wonder... See if you can get hold of him, will you, Gail?
All right. What's the number of the field again?
Ellington, 249.
Thanks. Ellington,
What's the
249,
idea,
please,
huh?
operator.
I'm just wondering if Blake closed the field rather than join the organization.
Hey,
Hello?
could be.
Clark Field? Is Mr. Blake there? Oh, well, could you tell me how I can reach him? Thank you. They're getting his home number.
Well, who's at the field now? You said it was closed down.
He probably left a watchman there.
Hello? Yes, go ahead. Ellington 683. Thank you very much. I have his home phone. Shall I call him there?
Please.
Hello, operator. Give me Ellington 683, please.
Then let me talk to him, Gail.
Right.
Well, look, Hop, supposing Blake did fold on account of the organization. He won't be no help to us now.
Why not?
He's out of business, ain't he? The organization licked him.
Hello?
He was flying alone the way
Mr.
we are
Blake,
now, but if we
please.
can join forces...
Yeah, we wanted to do that with Harry Charles, and look what happened.
Oh, just a moment. Here you are, Hop.
Oh, thanks. Hello, Ed.
Who's this?
Hop Harrigan.
Oh, hello, Harrigan. How are things?
Not too good right now. Listen, I understand you've closed your field.
Yeah, that's right.
Mind if I ask why?
No, not at all. Especially since you'll probably be doing the same thing yourself.
Maybe not.
Then you know about the organization?
I certainly do.
Well, that's why I folded. I couldn't fight him. I was hanged if I'd knuckle under either.
Well, if you don't mind my saying so, Ed, you really did knuckle under.
What?
No offense meant, but by closing your field, you just backed out of the fight.
Oh, Harrigan, there wasn't anything else I could do. They're too big to handle alone.
Okay, then. How about joining me?
Are you kidding?
No, not a bit. If we could organize ourselves, we might have a pretty good chance.
Well, not against them, Harrigan. I know.
Look, Ed, you flew a B-17 out of Clark Field in the Philippines when the Japs made their first sneak attack, didn't you? That's why you called your own airport Clark Field.
So what?
Well, the way I heard it, you kept your ship flying with glue and baling wire until you were almost the last ship in the Philippines. And then you carried on from Australia.
Look, Harrigan, you don't have to tell me what I did.
Now, don't get sore, Ed. I'm just trying to point out that you were fighting an organization then, an organization called Japan. Well, Ed?
I get you. Okay, what do you want me to do?
Swell. Now, look, can you run up here sometime today?
Yeah, how about this afternoon?
Fine. And listen, do you know the fellows who operated Ashton and Waynesburg?
Uh-huh. They folded for the same reason.
Can you get hold of them and bring them with you?
Well, I don't see why not.
Okay, then. Maybe between the four of us, we can put up a real scrap.
4 against that mob? You're an optimist, Harrigan. But I'll play along.
Good. See you this afternoon, then.
It's a deal. So long.
Well, you look like the cat that swallowed the canary.
Canary, Tank.
That's what I said. What gives, Hop?
Blake is coming up, and he's bringing the operators of Ashton and Waynesburg.
So what does that prove?
Nothing yet, but who knows? This may be the start of something.
When are they coming?
This afternoon.
Hey, ain't you forgetting the big boss? Brown said he'd bring him over sometime today.
But he didn't say when, Tank.
And what if the boss does show up when Blake and the others are here?
Won't make him like us any better.
I don't think I'd worry too much about his liking us, Tank.
Uh-oh, maybe that's him now.
You want me to answer it, Hop?
Please.
Lakeville Airport.
Is that him? Quiet, Tank.
Oh, yes, Mr. Jenkins.
Oh.
When? How big a load? Just a moment, please. Hop,
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins wants you to fly a load of eggs to New City for him. They have to be there by 2 o'clock this afternoon.
Oh, tell him we're busy.
No, Tank. Tell him we'll pick them up in about 45 minutes.
But, Hop, this ain't no time to be ferrying cargo.
It's our business, isn't it, Tank? We can't stop operations. Go on, Gil.
Right. Hello, Mr. Jenkins. Hop will be there in 45 minutes.
And tell him to build a bonfire out in his pasture so we can judge the wind drift.
And Mr. Jenkins, build a fire in your pasture. Just a small one. Now, don't worry, he'll get the eggs to New City safely. Bye. He'll be ready to load as soon as you get there, Hop.
Right, let's go, Tank.
But what about that meeting with Blake and the other guys?
We'll be back in plenty of time.
If you're not, they'll wait. Go on now, boys.
See you later, Gil.
With Tank lumbering along behind him, Hop leads the way out of the office to the hangar, where, after refueling the Beechcraft, they take off and head for the Jenkins Dairy Farm, a short 20-mile jump to the east. But as they roar through the clear, bright morning sky, Tank quickly spots a now all too familiar escort.
For crying out loud, don't that guy ever give up?
What is it, Tank?
Look, off the starboard and back. The Stinson again.
I asked.
10-1 that kid Dudley is flying her. What's he think he's doing following us all the time?
You've got me. And by this time, he seems to be keeping his distance.
Guess we taught him a thing or two. He won't come stunting around us again.
Hey, there's Jenkins' farm. Stand by for a landing. So you have that fire going? Yeah, wind is from the south. I'll cut around. Give me wheels and flaps. Wheels down. Flaps down. Where's the Stinson?
Holding off about a quarter of a mile to the west. He ain't gonna bother us none this trip.
Okay, stand by. Going in.
But even as Hop lowers the nose of the Beechcraft and prepares for a landing on the broad pasture of the dairy farm, George Dudley, flying the Stinson and watching the activity on the farm through a pair of binoculars, puts through a strange call over his radio transmitter.
Hello, Lightning Base from Dudley. Lightning Base from Dudley. Harrigan and Tinker landing on farm 20 miles east of Lakeville Airport. Apparently going to run a cargo trip. Suggest bringing out the special and doing a job on him. I'll call you again as soon as he's airborne and give you his course. That is all.
What is the meaning of this strange report, and what is the special? We'll know in a moment, gang, so stand by. You know, gang, the Civil Air Patrol had its beginning on the 1st of December, 1941, just before we were plunged into war by the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor. It was intended to act as a part of the civilian defense program, but its work became so closely tied in with the war that it soon became a vital part of the Air Force. Well, now the CAP has become a full-fledged auxiliary of the Department of the Air Force. During the war, the CAP ran up an impressive record for a civilian group. And that's all they really were then. Members gave their own time and many times risked their lives on important missions. Members of the Coastal Patrol spotted 173 enemy subs and attacked 57. Its aerial patrols found 17 floating mines in our sea lanes and perhaps averted a few tragic sinkings, which might have hurt the war effort. On their various missions, these aerial patrols flew a total of about 90,000 hours. These included search missions, towing gunnery targets, and courier trips. Now, in peacetime, the goal of the CAP is 100,000 trained ground and flight personnel who would be qualified for commercial or military aviation in time of an emergency. Incidentally, one direct result of the CAP these past 6 years has been the increase in the number of flyers in the United States. According to Mr. T.P. Wright, Civil Aeronautics Administrator, pilot licenses are now at an all-time high. The total is over 450,000. At the same time, the number of planes and airports has shot up. The CAP knows how much this country needs flyers and technicians for the future, and they're looking to you young people to provide the raw materials. So always remember, gang, America needs flyers. And now back to our story. Picking up a cargo of eggs from the Jenkins dairy farm, Hop and Tank are flying a routine cargo flight to New City. But the Stinson, piloted by George Dudley, continues to follow like a menacing shadow, and Tank squirms in his seat uncomfortably.
Gosh, I wish I knew what that young punk is up to. Well, he isn't bothering us any, Tank, so forget it.
He ain't bothering us now, but maybe he's got another cute trick up his sleeve.
If he does, we'll handle it just like we've handled all the others.
Yeah, but he's been on our tail for over a half hour now. Just sitting there like a vulture.
I'll forget it, will you?
Uh-oh.
What now?
He's inching up to us, putting on steam.
I suppose that makes you happy now?
Open up, Pop. Pull away from him.
Now, let's see what he does first.
He's less than a quarter of a mile away. He's really piling on the coal.
I'd like to get a look at that ship sometime. Must be souped up something fierce.
Jumping jetty. Somebody's shooting at us. Tank, look. That's P-38. Oh, gosh, where'd it come from?
I don't know. I was so busy watching the Stinson, I didn't see it.
Hey, it's cutting around sharp. Making another run at us.
Look, the insignia on the fuselage.
The streak of light. It's them. Hey, clear out, Hop. Pull away.
Hey, he isn't shooting straight at us. He's aiming in front of us.
The idea.
Hello, Harrigan. This is Dudley.
Hey,
Come in,
Dudley's calling us
Harrigan.
over the radio.
What's going on, Dudley?
Never mind what's going on. There's an open field off to your left. Turn in and land.
What? Nothing doing, Dudley.
I said land, pal, or I'll have that P-38 chop your wings off.
Pop, don't do it.
Come on, Harrigan. Turn or you'll go down in pieces.
As Dudley's voice crackles grimly through his headset, Hop hesitates momentarily, but then, seeing the P-38 roar in, its nose guns black and threatening, and the Stinson following, he gives up and turns the Beechcraft in a sharp bank, heading for the indicated field. What are Dudley and the organization up to now? What will happen? You'll find out in our next action-packed episode, gang, so don't fail to listen. Tune in and fly with Hop Harrigan, America's ace of the airwaves. So long, Hop. We'll be seeing you same time, same mutual station. Hop Harrigan is a transcribed, copyrighted feature appearing in All American Comics magazine. America's ace of the airways.
CX-4 calling control tower. CX-4 calling control tower. Standing by.
Control tower, back to CX-4. Wind southeast, ceiling 1200. All clear.
Okay, this is Hop Harrigan coming in.
Yes, it's America's ace of the airways, coming in for another transcribed episode in the adventures of Hop Harrigan. Say, gang, here's the second in our series on the Civil Air Patrol, its great job during the war, and its plans in the years ahead. First of all, a large majority of the officers of the CAP are civilian volunteers. There are a few exceptions to this, mainly the personnel at National Headquarters at Washington's Bowling Field. The National Commander is appointed by the Commanding General of the Air Force. Under him works a staff of Air Force officers and civilian employees. At each of the state wing headquarters, there's a liaison officer coordinating the work of the wing with others in the nation. That, in short, is the organizational setup of the CAP. Now, right from the beginning, the patrol was called upon to send airplanes and pilots on military missions. It was set up and went into action almost overnight. Early in 1942, when German submarines were attacking American vessels within sight of our shores, and were cutting the vital supply lines to our troops. The Army and Navy were not able to fight back as powerfully as they had hoped. There just weren't enough planes and ships to guard the coastal waters. To meet the powerful attack of the subs, CAP volunteers organized 3 experimental bases with their own planes and equipment. They were unarmed except for radios, and any time they spotted a sub, the word was immediately flashed back for a bomber to come in for the kill. Many times the U-boats crash-dived as soon as they sighted CAP planes, and many convoys were saved from attack. More later, gang, so don't forget to listen. And now to our story. Overwhelmed by the attacks of the powerful Lightning Organization, which by blackmail and terrorism is trying to gain control of private flying in the United States, Hop and Tank have taken the first steps in a campaign to fight back. They have called a meeting of 3 other airport operators who closed down their fields rather than join the organization, hoping that a common united front will destroy the insidious racket. But now the boys find themselves under attack again. En route to New City in their Beechcraft on a routine cargo run, they have been intercepted by a reconverted Army P-38, heavily armed, its pilot flying under orders of George Dudley, following in a Stinson. The P-38 roared down on the Beechcraft, firing a burst of machine gun fire not 10 yards in front of the streamlined biplane. And by radio, George Dudley snapped out a strange order.
That's all, Harrigan. Your flight ends right here. Turn your ship and land in that field to your left. If you don't, the P-38 will chop your wings off.
Immediately realizing the futility of even trying to fight back against such overwhelming odds, Hop complied with Dudley's command and headed in for a landing on the designated field. Dudley followed close behind, parking his Stinson at the wingtip of the Beechcraft, and as the P-38 circled overhead like a menacing vulture, stepped out and sauntered arrogantly over to Hop and Tank.
That's it, boys. Just stand where you are and nobody will get hurt.
The cocky little pipsqueak. I'll tear him apart.
Easy, Tank. Okay, Dudley, what's the idea?
Well, since you don't belong to the organization yet, we figure you don't have any right to carry cargo, Harrigan.
We don't have any right.
You heard me, Tinker. So I'm taking over from here.
Meaning what?
I'm taking that stuff in the New City for you.
Listen, punk, you'll take them eggs over our dead bodies.
If I have to, Tinker, I will. You're wasting my time. Get to work. Start unloading that stuff or that P-38 will chop that old crate of yours into kindling and make an omelet out of that cargo. I don't think old man Jenkins would thank you for that. Seems to me he needs the dough for those eggs.
You've got it all figured out, haven't you, Dudley?
Right down to a capital T. So how about it? You going to cooperate?
Nah, don't do it, Hop.
Okay, Dudley, you win.
Oh, Hop.
It was only us, Tank, all right, but we've got to think of Mr. Jenkins.
Sure you do. Okay, now, boys, if you don't mind, get to work.
A mocking smile on his sallow face, Dudley gestures with his gun, and Hop and Tank begin the task of transferring the cargo from their Beechcraft to the Stinson. In 15 minutes, the job is finished, and Dudley leaps into his ship. As he starts the engine, he calls out,
Thanks a lot, boys. You did a great job. If you'd like to work as porters sometime, let me know. I'll give you a recommendation.
Low-down punk.
Stay where you are, Tank.
Now, I'm sorry to have to do this, but you'd better stick around a while.
Hop, he's lifting his gun. He's going to shoot.
Duck.
The rat.
Tank, he isn't shooting at us. What? No, he's aiming to the left. Great Scott, our engine.
So long, boys. Hope you're wearing your walking shoes.
Come on, Tank.
You sure he shot into our power plant?
Yeah, see the whole 3 of them. He must have missed with one.
Oh, murder. Give me a hand with the cowling.
Right.
Hey, what about the P-38? Where is it?
Following the Stinson. We don't have to worry about them anymore.
Yeah, lift her off. Check.
How does it look? Much damage?
Enough to keep us sitting here for a while.
What do you mean a while? Can't you fix it?
Yeah, but it'll take me at least an hour.
Oh.
Stand back and give me elbow room. Me and my little pal, I got work to do.
Reaching into his back pocket, Tank fishes out his ever-present screwdriver, and as Hop is forced to stand idly by, ducks under the engine housing and begins repairing the damage. An hour and a quarter passes before he finally straightens up, wipes his forehead with grease-smeared hands, and announces,
Okay, Hop, that does it. She'll turn over now, or I'll start selling magazines.
Good. Pile in, then. We've got to get back to Lakeville fast.
Replacing the engine cowling quickly, the boys leap into the Beechcraft, and Hop energizes the starter. After an anxious second when there is no response, the engine roars into life, and Tank settles back in his seat, a satisfied smile creasing his oil-stained face. 25 minutes later, they circle the Lakeville Airport, preparatory to a landing.
Hey, get a load of all them ships down there.
Oh, yes.
Fairchild 24, twin-engine Cessna, and Navian. Where'd all the company come from?
Must be Ed Blake and the other airport operators.
Huh?
Don't you remember? We called a meeting with them this afternoon.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
We're late. Give me wheels and flaps. We're going in.
Cutting his landing pattern short, Hop sideslips into the runway and taxis to the small airport office. In a matter of moments, he and Tank are being introduced to the two unfamiliar airport operators by Ed Blake.
This is Shorty Candler and Frank Bullen.
Glad to know you, Shorty.
Frank, fellas.
Hi. Well, Harrigan, we're here.
Glad you made it, Ed. And sorry we're late.
Yeah, we had a run-in with them punks in the organization again.
Oh, what happened?
They hijacked the cargo out of our ship.
That sounds familiar, doesn't it, Frank?
Yeah, still up to the old tricks.
Well, why not? They worked. That's what drove us out.
Yeah, but they're not going to drive us out.
Hey, wait a minute, Tinker. We didn't just throw in the towel, if that's what you're getting
Oh,
at.
no, fellas.
You'll have to excuse Ed. He's kind of touchy on the subject.
Oh, sure.
Well, how about it, Harrigan? What's your idea?
Well, frankly, I don't have anything concrete just yet. I wanted to get together with you fellas, find out what you knew, and maybe by, well, pooling our brains and our abilities, we could come up with something.
Well, if the organization's been hitting you as hard as it hits us, you know as much as we do.
Don't any of you know who the boss is?
Nah, never saw him.
How about you, Shorty?
No, I don't know.
Me neither. Well, we'll find out soon enough. That's a cinch. He's coming here.
Here?
Yes, I told Brown I wouldn't deal with anyone else.
Who's Brown?
Man who's been contacting us. Works with a partner, Luigi.
Luigi. You mean the big guy looks like an overgrown gorilla?
Yeah, that's him.
Well, Brown is bringing the boss here for a showdown, so we'll know the score there pretty soon. Do any of you fellas know where the organization is based?
As far as I know, they operate everywhere. Sure, most of the private fields in the country are signed up.
Out of fear, yes. But they couldn't be trusted with the dirty work.
He keeps that Stinson and that P-38 someplace special. I'll bet he does.
Say nothing of the other ships he probably uses.
I wouldn't know where his field is. Hey, speaking of planes, you expecting somebody else at this powwow?
No, only the three of you.
There's a ship just setting down your runway, a C-47.
Yeah, Hop, look. I've never seen it before. I wonder...
Jumping jetties.
What is it, Tinker?
Look, there in the fuselage, just behind the door. A streak of light.
Great Scott. Then it's the big boss himself.
Gripping the edge of the windowsill until his knuckles show white, Hop stares at the slowly taxiing transport as it nears the small office. In a moment, he will know who the big boss of the organization is. We all will, gang, so stand by. Now, gang, let's get back to the story of the Civil Air Patrol. Early in the war, after experimental anti-submarine bases, the CAP set up 21 permanent bases to cover the entire Atlantic and Gulf coasts from Maine to Mexico. Bombs and depth charges were attached to the light civilian planes, and they were in constant radio touch with their bases. Often, these single-engine planes went out as far as 100 miles over the sea in winter weather or over high waves, when the failure of an engine meant almost certain death. In this service, 26 CAP men were lost. But against those fatalities, hundreds of survivors of ship sinkings and dozens of Army and Navy airmen forced down at sea were rescued when spotted by CAP observers. Aircraft of the Coastal Patrol were flown more than 24 million miles over water, spotting and attacking many subs. From other bases, inland, the CAP flew missions along the Rio Grande to look for illegal crossings of the border in either direction. They flew so low they could read auto license numbers. In every phase of its military flying, the CAP lost more than 50 men and 150 aircraft. These men, mostly volunteers, gave their lives in the line of duty just as much as any soldier or sailor. Now, Civil Air Patrol ground parties and airplanes may be called into action upon request of the Air Force. These missions are given the CAP when military airplanes are lost over mountainous, desert, or woody country. Gang, the Civil Air Patrol knows how much we need men and women to man the planes of tomorrow. Always remember, America needs flyers. And now, back to our story. The meeting between Hop, Tank, and the three former airport owners to discover a way of fighting back against the Lightning organization has suddenly been interrupted by the arrival of a twin-engine C-47 transport at the Lakeville Airport. And as the plane taxis up to the small office building, the boys can clearly see the jagged streak of lightning emblazoned on the fuselage. The boss of the organization has arrived. The three airport owners wait anxiously as Hop and Tank watch two familiar figures step out of the plane.
There's Brown.
Yeah, and that's Luigi behind him. Couldn't miss him.
Yeah, but where's the boss?
There, that must be him, just climbing out now.
His coat collar's turned up. I can't see his face.
Awful fat, ain't he?
Say, I've seen him before.
You recognize him, Harrigan?
I'm sure I know him. If I could only get a look at his face.
You will in 2 seconds. They're almost at the door.
Hey, maybe we better beat it. Hide in that back room there.
No, stay put, Shorty. We'll stick with Harrigan on this deal.
Thanks, fellas.
Get set. They're at the door.
Afternoon, Brown.
Hello, Harrigan. Wow, quite a party you've got here.
Hello, Brown.
Ed Blake. Wow, and Shorty Candler and Frank Bowen. What's the matter, fellas? Coming around to see Harrigan for John?
How about getting out of the doorway, Brown, and letting your friend in?
Yeah, we'd like to meet him.
I bet you would. Luigi,
Yeah?
come on in and keep these guys covered.
Sure.
Take my advice, fellas, and don't try anything. Luigi's very quick on the trigger.
Don't worry, Brown.
Just taking some necessary precautions. Okay, boss, come on in. You got a welcoming committee waiting for you.
Yeah, indeed. Hop. That voice, of course. Now I know.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. It's a pleasure to see you here. And an exceedingly great pleasure to renew your acquaintance, Mr. Harrigan.
Great suffering sea snakes. Tobias Finley.
Yes, my friend Tinker. In the flesh, you might say. It's been a long time since our last encounter. One in which, I must admit, you emerged victorious. The results of our meeting this afternoon will be quite different. I might say most exceedingly different.
Throwing his head back, Tobias Finley laughs uproariously as Hop and Tank stare at him amazed. So this is the mysterious boss of the Lightning Organization, Tobias Finley, their old enemy, with whom they had fought on many an occasion, and the last person in the world they expected to see. Well, gang, this looks like the showdown. Who will win? You won't want to miss our next exciting episode, so tune in and fly with Hop Harrigan, America's ace of the airwaves. So long, Hop. We'll be seeing you same time, same mutual station. Hop Harrigan is a transcribed, copyrighted feature appearing in All American Comics magazine.
Everyone, that is the end of the first half of the listen along. Have your 5-minute break, and then we'll come back and do the rest. Cool. See you in 5 minutes. Bye, guys. Yeah, music, yeah, music. Oh, I'm live. Oops. Well, uh, 5 minutes is up. Yay. Back to the thingy. Yay. Hop Harrigan. Woo.
Presenting Hop Harrigan, America's ace of the airways.
CX-4 calling control tower. CX-4 calling control tower. Standing by.
Control tower, back to CX4. Wind southeast, ceiling 1200. All clear.
Okay, this is Hop Harrigan coming in.
Yes, it's America's ace of the airways, coming in for another transcribed episode in the adventures of Hop Harrigan. Say, gang, here's more in our series on the Civil Air Patrol. One of the chief functions of the CAP is the training of American youth in the fundamentals of aeronautics. In the United States and the territory of Hawaii, there are about 75,000 boys and girls between the ages of 15 and 17 taking part in the CAP cadet training program. CAP does not give flight training, but all members are encouraged to learn to fly from private teachers. In many areas, CAP groups have special funds to give flight scholarships to outstanding cadets. Although they are not taught to fly, the cadets are taken aloft, just for the experience. For this purpose, the Air Force has loaned the CAP light planes of the single-engine type. On these special flights, pilots and observers gain added experience for emergency duties. All this instruction is given free of charge by CAP members and other local volunteers best qualified to teach the various courses. For instance, navigation may be taught by a commercially rated pilot, or radio by an experienced amateur or professional operator. Doctors give lessons in first aid, and war veterans instruct the cadets in military drill. So you can see that CAP training is really an education in itself. Flyers broaden their aviation knowledge and learn the related ground subjects. Non-flyers get a chance to learn about aviation so that they may become better pilots once they start flight lessons. More later, gang, so don't forget to listen. And now to our story. A meeting is taking place at the Lakeville Airport, a meeting vital to the future security and independence of private pilots and airport operators throughout the United States. Conferring with Ed Blake, Shorty Candler, and Frank Boland, three men who closed down their fields rather than submit to the powerful Lightning organization, Hop and Tank are trying to plan a campaign which will enable them to strike back successfully. But suddenly, in our last episode, you recall, a C-47 transport, the deadly Lightning insignia emblazoned on its fuselage, landed at Lakeville. The mysterious boss of the organization had arrived, and the boys were completely flabbergasted when they caught sight of him. His bloated face and bulky figure identified him immediately as a former deadly enemy, Tobias Finley. He paused in the doorway for a moment, then advanced, slowly and ponderously, a blandly arrogant expression on his face.
Your astonishment is extremely amusing, my friend. Obviously, I'm the last person in the world that you expected to see.
I thought you was dead.
Hardly. And I might add, I'm in excellent health and expect to stay that way. But who are these men?
Some guys we knocked out of business, boss. They wouldn't sign up, so they closed their field.
I see. Their names?
That one's Ed Blake, then Shorty Candler and Frank Boland.
Oh, yes, I remember now. Very stubborn, as I recall. But, of course, since they're now out of business, hardly worth worrying about.
I wouldn't be too sure of that.
Easy, Blake. Watch him, Luigi.
Yeah.
No violence, please, gentlemen. Luigi's an excellent shot. Personally, I abhor the sight of blood. Now, let's get on to business.
All right, Finley, let's.
I needn't explain our organization to you, Harrigan. I'm sure Mr. Brown has gone over that fully.
He sure has.
But there's one thing he neglected to mention. Since his first visit to you, the dues have been increased. Inflation, you know.
And what are they now?
$2,000 per year. And may I add that every day that passes from this day on, in which we have not received your signature, the dues will be increased $100.
I see. Well, if you don't mind, Finley, before I sign, Or rather, before I even consider signing, I'd like evidence of the actual existence of the organization.
I beg your pardon. The existence should be obvious enough.
I want to see your charter, your books, your membership rolls, your income and tax records.
Oh, very clever of you, Harrigan. Extremely clever of you.
How about it?
Such a request is out of order.
Why?
I'm not empowered to open the books of my organization to anyone.
Because you're afraid to let people see what you're doing with the money, is that it? Because you're just a leech using strong-arm methods to force helpless, unarmed people to pay you tribute.
Harrigan!
Because you take that money and fill your own pocket.
Shut your yap, Harrigan.
You shut yours, punk.
Luigi, watch him.
Oh, yeah. Harrigan, I did not come here to argue with you. I came here for your signature and your check.
And if you don't get it?
Then I warn you. This is the last round in our fight. One of us will lose decisively and forever. And I'm sure you know whom I mean.
I know who I'm thinking of.
Harrigan, for the last time. Will you sign?
No.
Very well. Then remember this. I shall not return. Neither shall Mr. Brown or Luigi. From now on, you will have to come to us and beg on your hands and your knees.
Fat chance.
And I trust, Harrigan, you will come while you're still capable of even that. So that'll be all for now.
Watch him, Luigi.
Yeah. Good afternoon to you, gentlemen. Come, Mr. Brown. Luigi.
Don't get any funny ideas, you guys. One of our boys is waiting in the ship with a chatter gun. You'll punch this place full of holes if you even show your faces near the window.
Wow. He sure laid it on the line, didn't he?
You let yourself in for something, Harrigan.
I know, Ed, but at least we're clear on how we stand. This is going to be a fight to the finish. Now, we've got to work fast. Hey, they're starting up the engines on the C-47.
What do you want us to do, Harrigan?
First of all, we've got to find their headquarters, and that transport's our only hope.
How do you figure that?
It's probably going back to its base, or it will eventually. We've got to follow it.
Well, that isn't going to be easy. That P-38 will probably cover it all the way. We can't buck the machine guns on that job.
There it goes. Okay, safe to watch it now. Keep your eyes on the tank all the way. Give me the heading as soon as it's airborne.
Right.
Now listen, fellas. You've all had a bunch of pilots flying out of your fields, haven't you?
Yeah, sure.
Well, how many of them signed up with the organization?
Oh, only two of mine.
None out of my field.
Boys of my field quit when I did.
Oh, can you get hold of them in a hurry? Right now, I mean?
I think so.
Then get to work. Alert those boys, tell them to pile into their ships and hit the sky. Have them all spread out and blanket this whole area as far as they can.
But what's the idea?
We've got to track down the transport without letting Finley know. Now get to work.
Oh, but there's only one phone here.
Each of you contact one man. Tell him to contact the other.
All right. Now, let me get hold of my boys first. They're closer.
Sure thing, Ed.
And when they spot the transport, they're to contact us right away. We'll make this field our central headquarters.
Hey, there it goes.
Uh-huh. Our one chance. Pray that it comes through for us, fellas.
Crowding around the window, Hop, Tank, and their new allies watched the twin-engine transport roar down the runway, and then, with a burst of power, leap into the cloudless afternoon sky. With the ship goes both their fears and their hopes. Will they be able to trace its course? We'll know more in just a moment, gang, so stand by. Now, gang, back to our story of the Civil Air Patrol. The cadet training program of the CAP is aided by Air Force officers assigned to each wing to give advice and assistance on training problems. These officers are largely combat veterans of the last war, and they are the direct liaison between the Air Force and the Civil Air Patrol wings. In addition to these courses on aviation, each cadet is given the chance of attending one of the many summer encampments held at various Air Force fields throughout the country. The encampments are about 2 weeks long. During that time, the cadets put the theory they've been absorbing all year long to actual practice. For you girls, I know you'll be glad to know the CAP runs separate encampments for the girl cadets, who receive the same privileges and training given to the male members. To give you an idea of how advanced some of these practical courses are, CAP cadets can take a course in the maintenance of the jet engine at Tinker Field, Oklahoma. From experience in the last war, it was found that a young man with a basic knowledge of military training had a great advantage over raw recruits. It costs the Air Force and Navy many thousands of dollars to train one pilot, and the washouts are usually very high. Well, this pre-flight training and experience reduces the rate of washouts in the Air Force Aviation Cadet Program and also tends to reduce accidents. With the CAP Cadet Program and with the vast experience of its senior members, the Civil Air Patrol stands ready to meet any local or national emergency which might arise. Say, gang, if you're really interested in aviation, find out more about the CAP cadet program at your local city. It'll give you vital experience in aviation and make you a better pilot or technician. Always remember, America needs flyers. And now back to our story. 3/4 of an hour have passed since Tobias Finley's appearance at the Lakeville airport. And Hop and Tank, with their new allies, the 3 former airport owners, have worked furiously trying to trace the course of Finley's transport. Shorty Candler and Frank Boland have left to direct the search from their own fields, leaving Ed Blake poring over charts of the surrounding territory with the boys.
Well, this whole area is wide open. Finley could have had secret headquarters almost anywhere here.
Gosh, why don't we hear from some of them guys? It's been almost an hour. Uh-oh, maybe I'll get it. Gosh, if only that's one of the fellas.
Hello, Lakeville Airport.
Hey, wait, Tinker.
Yes, who's here? Hold on. For you, Ed.
Oh, thanks.
Is it about Finley, Hop?
I don't know, Tank.
Blake speaking. Oh, yes, Jerry. Good. One of my boys, he spotted the transport.
Yowie! Get the dope. I'll mark it on the chart.
Where'd you see it, Jerry? 2 miles east of Rock Creek.
Get that, Hop, huh?
And its course? South-southeast.
South-southeast, yeah.
Time, 3:17. Speed, approximately 180. Altitude, 7,000. Okay, Jerry. Thanks a million. You got that, Hop?
Yes, he was right here 15 minutes ago.
Well, then he's not far from either Shorty's field or Frank's place. Their boys should spot him next.
I hope they do. Oh, boy, how I hope they do.
Breathing a fervent prayer, Tank expresses all their feelings. And 20 minutes later, they are rewarded by a shortwave radio message from Shorty Candler.
Finley's plane spotted over Collingswood at 3:22. Holding course south-southeast. Altitude 7,000. Speed approximately 175.
Then, after another 15-minute wait, there's a call from Frank Boland.
C-47, 4 miles south of Pine Valley. Time 3:30. Holding course south-southeast. Altitude 7,000 feet. Speed approximately 180.
With each succeeding call, Finley's course is plotted on the large chart in the boys' office. Finally, after 2 more reports, there's silence. And as late afternoon melts into evening, the sky darkens overhead, Hop rechecks to learn that although the air is full of private pilots and planes, Finley is nowhere to be seen. Examining the map again, Hop concludes.
He must have reached his destination and landed. Yeah, but where?
Well, our last report put him here, about north of the 5 Peak Range.
And the planes covering the area south of the range never saw him, so he obviously landed somewhere in the mountains.
Well, there's a field in the mountains, a small one.
Why, that's only a postage stamp airport. He wouldn't use that.
Why not? It's centrally located, and its size makes it a good hideout.
So what's next, Harrigan?
Next, we call Shorty and Frank, have them meet us in their planes en route, and we pay Mr. Tobias Finley a surprise visit.
Uh-oh, we slug it out with him.
Check. This afternoon, Finley said that this was the last round. One of us will lose decisively and forever. Well, I'll add to that. Only one of us will come out of those mountains in one piece.
Hop makes a grim resolution, and Tank and Ed Blake nod their agreement. It's a battle to the finish, gang. Who will win? We're reaching the climax of this exciting adventure, and there's plenty of action ahead. So don't miss our next suspense-packed episode. Tune in and fly with Hop Harrigan, America's ace of the airways. So long, Hop. We'll be seeing you same time, same mutual station. Hop Harrigan is a transcribed, copyrighted feature appearing in All American Comics magazine and is brought to you Monday through Friday, same time, same mutual station. America's ace of the airways.
CX-4 calling control tower. CX-4 calling control tower. Standing by.
Control tower back to CX-4. Wind
Okay, this is Hop Harrigan. Coming in.
Yes, it's America's ace of the airways. Coming in for another transcribed episode in the adventures of Hop Harrigan. Say, gang, here's another in our series on the Civil Air Patrol. The CAP intends to maintain a membership of 100,000 young men and women in their cadet corps. Each wing is in charge of its own group. Right now, many wings are increasing their membership. In case you join or intend to join, you can tell your folks not to worry. You see, all cadet activities are under close supervision of parents and teachers. In fact, the CAP requires parents of each cadet to come to at least one meeting a month to see their boys and girls in action. Parents must consent before anyone can join the cadets, and again before any fellow or girl is allowed to accept airplane rides. The CAP cadets are not a military organization. Their goal is to prepare young people for civilian aviation in peacetime, as well as for possible duty in the armed services. The Civil Air Patrol accepts girls as cadets on the same conditions as fellows. This equality is important, gang, because it affects the future of aviation in a direct way. Before the war, only 3 out of every 100 licensed pilots were women. And there's no reason why women shouldn't take jobs in aviation, and this cadet training gives them a head start. Well, today, women and girls make up about 20% of the membership of the CAP. There are many activities through which the Corps keeps each cadet busy. The glider program and model airplane building, which I'll tell you about later in the program, are only a few. Well, that's all for the moment, gang, but I'll be back in just a few minutes with more on the Civil Air Patrol cadets. So don't forget to listen. And now to our story. The long battle between Hop and Tank and the Lightning Organization, headed by their old enemy, Tobias Finley, is rapidly nearing a climax. On the losing end up to now, the boys are ready to strike back, and with the assistance of other airport owners and pilots who have refused to sign up with the organization, have located Finley's secret headquarters at a small airport in the Five Peaks mountain range. As we continue now, Hop and Tank are flying southward through the night sky in their Beechcraft, heading for Five Peaks. They are being followed by Ed Blake in a Fairchild cabin monoplane, who talks to them by shortwave radio.
We're getting close to my place, Harrigan. Want to land and refuel?
We don't have to, Ed. We can make Ashton all right. How about you?
Oh, I have enough to reach Ashton. 3 of my boys are waiting for us on the field. They want to come along.
Good. We can use everyone. Can you radio ahead and have them start taking off? We'll meet them near the field.
Right. Signing off.
Talk to you later. Over and out. Well, things are looking up, Tank. 3 more planes, that makes 5. And Shorty Candler and Frank Bolden will probably come along.
So we got 7. It still ain't nothing to brag about.
That's better than the 2 of us fighting by ourselves.
Well, how about that P-38 Finley's got? It's armed to the teeth. It'll chop us to pieces.
Maybe. It has to spot us first.
Don't worry, it will. When George Dudley comes nosing around, he'll tip Finley off in a hurry.
There's no sign of Dudley yet.
He always shows up, just like a bad penny.
Oh, for Pete's sake, can't you go hang crepe somewhere else?
Well, you gotta look at all the angles, don't you? And if a miracle happens, if we do get Finley where we want him, so what? He ain't gonna bust up the organization just because we say so.
Of course not.
Then why are we going to Five Peaks? All we're doing is sticking our necks out for nothing.
Not quite nothing, Tank. If we leave Five Peaks alive, we'll have enough on that organization to break it up forever.
Strangely confident, Hop turns back to the controls and falls silent, leaving Tank puzzled and confused. In a few moments, they roar over Clark Field, where they see the 3 small Piper trainers take off, one after the other. Ed Blake calls in over the radio again.
Okay, Harrigan, my boys are with us.
Right. Have them form up off the port, and you lead them.
Check. We'll have to throttle down, and they won't be able to keep up with us.
Okay. And in case we're separated, tell them to head for Shorty Candler's field at Ashton. That's our next rendezvous.
Shorty Candler's field at Ashton. It's a date, Harrigan.
Hop smiles as the 3 Piper Cubs form a tight V behind Blake's Fairchild and throttles back, holding a southerly course to Ashton. There, after refueling, the squadron, now augmented by Candler's Navion and 4 PT-19s, is airborne again, continuing southward toward Five Peaks.
Well, we're not doing badly at all, Tank. 10 planes now, not counting the ships Frank Bolden may have waiting at Waynesburg.
10 planes, yeah. And 3 of them little box kites. What good are the Pipers? They're just holding us back.
We need them, Tank. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if they show up the larger planes when we go into action.
I hate to think what'll happen to him once the P-38 starts shooting up this formation. They'll go down in splinters.
We'll take care of the P-38 when we see it.
How? We ain't even got a bean shooter.
Now, listen, Tank, if you don't cut the funeral dirge, I'm going to leave you at Waynesburg.
Oh, no. Can't do that, Hop.
You just watch me.
Okay, I promise. I won't say nothing more about it.
Good.
But you can't stop me from thinking.
Hello, Harrigan. This is Blake. Come in.
Yes, Ed, go ahead.
We've got company to Stinson.
Uh-oh, I knew it.
Where is it, Ed?
The port about a half mile. See its riding lights?
I see it, Hop. It's flying a parallel course.
Oh, yes.
George Dudley's probably flying her. I'll bet he's giving Finley an earful.
Not yet he isn't. He can't reach 5 peaks on a small set.
He'll tip him off somehow.
Not if we stop him. Hello, Ed. Come in.
Go ahead.
We've got to nab Dudley before he can get away and warn Finley.
Yes, I know, but how?
The old box formation. I'll hit him on top. You and Shorty take care of him on the sides and have the PT-19s cover the bottom.
Good idea. When do we hit him?
Right now. Swing over with me and call Shorty.
Roger. Out.
Here we go, Tank.
It'll work, Hop.
It's got to work. Keep your eyes on Dudley.
Still holding course.
Lucky for us, it's dark. He may not notice us until we're right on top of him.
Ed Blake's cutting over now, too. There goes Shorty Candler bringing in his PTs.
Dudley still holding course?
Yeah. We're almost on top of him.
What do you mean, almost? We are.
Jumping Jennies, you're practically sitting on his wing.
Right where I want to be. Where are Shorty and Ed?
Swinging in alongside. PTs are piling in underneath.
Swell.
Beechcraft from Stinson. Beechcraft from Stinson. Come in. Come in.
Hey, he's wise, Hop.
You had to wake up sometime. But it's too late now. Hello, Dudley. This is Harrigan. Go ahead.
What's the big idea? Sheer off. You'll crash into me.
Worried, Dudley? I thought you were such a good pilot. Let's see you crawl out of this.
I'm warning you, Harrigan. The CAA will get a full report on this. You won't ever fly again. Now sheer off.
Nothing doing. And don't bother threatening me with the CAA again. You don't dare report me, not with the evidence I have on you. You'll just play nice now and ride along with us.
Hop, watch it. He's piling on steam.
And so will we.
Yeah, but he's got that baby supercharged.
Not enough to outdistance us. How are we doing?
Still on top of him.
How about Ed and Shorty?
Avion's keeping up, but Ed's dropping a little.
Not enough to matter. We've got him right where we want him.
Hello, Harrigan. This is Dudley. Come in.
Uh-oh, what now?
Go ahead, Dudley.
You win. What's the pitch?
No pitch, my friend. We just like your company. Now you throttle back and behave. You're going to Waynesburg with us.
Riding close herd on the Stinson with the help of the Navion and the Fairchild, Hop leads the squadron to the Waynesburg field, where they land an hour later. Dudley is rushed out of his plane and locked in an office, as Shorty, Frank, and Ed gather around Hop's Beechcraft with the pilots of the other planes and wait for instructions.
Well, now, what is Okay, Harrigan, everybody's here.
Right, thanks, Ed. And now listen, fellas. You all know what the score is. I don't have to tell you anything about the organization. You know what it is and how dangerous it is. Some of us might get hurt.
So what? Yeah, well, we know what we're up against, Harrigan. We're still playing ball. Come on now, what do you want us to do?
Yeah, tell us. Okay, it's now 3:30. We should reach 5 Peaks a half hour before dawn. It'll be tough flying through the mountains in the dark, but I'm sure we can do it. When we're about a mile from the organization field, we'll all throttle our engines and start gliding. Glide all the way to the field. There may be opposition, and then again, maybe not. Depends on whether we surprise them.
We'll take care of those punks, won't we, fellas?
Yeah, you're right there, Blake. Well, but remember this. Our target is the office, the main headquarters of the gang. No matter what happens, we must take the office and hold it for at least 15 minutes. If we can do that, we're in. The organization will be broken wide open.
Simple enough. How about it, guys? It's okay with me.
Okay, then. Man your planes and good luck.
Okay, good luck to you, Harry.
You ready, Tank?
Yeah, but
What's bothering you now?
well, how come taking over the office for 15 minutes is enough to bust up the organization? I don't get it.
Listen, the other fellas trusted me, won't you?
Oh, sure, Hop, sure, but I still don't know why.
No more questions, Tank. Pile in. Time's a wasting.
Cutting off further protest, Hop starts the engine of the Beechcraft. The squadron is ready for action now. But what is Hop's plan? How can he break up the organization? We'll know more in just a moment, gang, so stand by. Earlier in the program, I promised to tell you about the glider program of the Civil Air Patrol cadets. To get the activity started, the CAP got in touch with the superintendents of education of every state asking whether they, the CAP that is, could work directly with local school authorities. Most of the state superintendents sent back a quick okay. The CAP wants students in each school to construct a glider. Wings in each of the local communities will cooperate with the schools in completing the project. The CAP itself is building some of the gliders in its own workshops. Here, cadets who do not have a chance to attend school shops can meet with a glider construction class and receive instruction. When the glider is finished, well, the biggest thrill of all comes. The cadet then takes the glider out to fly it. If you've never seen one of these light ships floating through the air, well, then you're missing something really worthwhile. During this year, the Civil Air Patrol is sponsoring a program of building and flying model airplanes. They're working with the Air Scouts, the National Aeronautics Association, in fact, any agency interested in advancing aviation. Along this line, the only interest of the CAP is to get as many American boys and girls as possible actively engaged in aviation work. The entire cadet program is built and run on that basis. I've told you many times that this country must have young pilots and technicians of all types for the future. Most of you, I know, are interested in aviation because you like to follow the air adventures of Hop Harrigan. Well, if you want to do actual work and receive practical training and experience, look into the Civil Air Patrol Cadet Program. If you want a career in aviation, join up and get a head start. Always remember, gang, America needs flyers. And now back to our story. It is 5 a.m, and droning steadily through the moonlit sky, a squadron of 15 planes, Piper Cubs, Fairchild PT-19s, Aronkas, a Navion, a twin-engine Cessna, and Hop's Beechcraft, approached the towering Five Peaks mountain range. In the lead plane, Hop transmits his orders.
Now listen, all of you. This is the dangerous part of the flight, the approach. I'll lead you over the mountains high and as fast as possible. If any of you get engine trouble, drop out fast and scoot back for home. We can't waste any time.
Sorry to bust in, but take a look off the starboard. High.
What? Tank, check it.
Yeah, I am.
Well?
I knew it. Trouble and plenty of it.
What are you talking about?
The P-38, it was up on patrol and it spotted us. It's going to attack.
Even as Tank shouts a warning, Hop catches a glimpse of the powerful interceptor, silhouetted bat-like against the waning moon, roaring in for the kill. The tiny squadron is helpless against its tremendous firepower, and it appears that Hop has led his followers into a deadly trap. Can he possibly escape? Gang, don't miss the action-packed climax of this rip-roaring adventure. Tune in and fly with Hop Harrigan, America's ace of the airways. So long, Hop. We'll be seeing you same time, same mutual station. Hop Harrigan is a transcribed, copyrighted feature appearing in All American Comics magazine and is brought to you Monday through Friday, same time, same mutual station. Presenting Hop Harrigan, America's ace of the airways.
CX-4 calling control tower. CX-4 calling control tower. Standing by.
Control tower, back to CX-4. Wind southeast, ceiling 1200. All clear.
Okay, this is Hop Harrigan coming in.
Yes, it's America's ace of the airways, coming in for another transcribed episode in the adventures of Hop Harrigan. Fellas and girls, today I want to tell you about a brand new book that the United States Air Force will issue on February 20th. It's called Silver Wings, named after the shining emblem that all U.S. airmen wear proudly on their uniforms. This is the Air Force's only authorized book for the young men and women of America, written by the Air Force about the Air Force's greatest heroes of World War II. There are 50 exciting and colorful stories about the men and women who flew and fought with the 12 combat air forces in every sector of air combat around the globe. Five-star General Henry Hap Arnold, who commanded the air forces during the war, has written the foreword, and the book is fully illustrated by Milton Caniff, the well-known cartoonist. The Air Forces want it known that all royalties from the sale of this brand new book will go to the AAF Aid Society, which offers emergency financial aid to airmen and their families. The authors of this book have accomplished something rather unusual. They've taken 50 exciting true stories, adventure stories, and woven them together by means of a dramatic fictional framework which will make this book a must in every young American's library. I'll be back later to tell you about the unusual stories in this fast-paced book, stories of high adventure and great courage, real, true stories of actual incidents of World War II. See you later, gang, so don't forget to listen. And now to our story. A mixed squadron of private planes, Piper Cubs, Aronkas, and PT-19 trainers, all led by Hop and Tank in their Beechcraft, are flying to a deadly rendezvous, a final all-out battle against the powerful Lightning organization. Droning steadily through the night sky, the squadron reached the Five Peaks mountain range just before dawn and began the final leg of the flight over the mountains to the organization's secret headquarters. But suddenly, a deadly P-38 interceptor appeared, outlined against the waning moon like a bat, and the boys realized the tiny squadron was doomed. It had no chance against the P-38's high-caliber guns unless something was done fast. Holding the microphone of his shortwave transmitter close to his lips, Hop snapped out orders.
Shorty, Frank, Ed, on the ball. We've got to move fast or that P-38 will chop us to pieces.
Coming fast, Hop.
Listen, all of you. We're over the mountains. Break up the squadron and cut down into the valleys. Ed, you lead your Pipers down the valley to our left. Acknowledge.
Roger, Harrigan.
Frank, you lead your Aronkas down the valley to the right. Acknowledge.
We're on our way.
Shorty, you and your boys close up behind me. We'll have a better chance against the P-38, and we can steer away from the other boys.
Anything you say, Harrigan.
And listen, all of you. We'll rendezvous at the field. Now get down into those valleys. Fly as low as you possibly can. And good luck.
Same to you, Harrigan.
We'll be seeing you, boys.
Hop, the P-38's curling around now. Gonna attack from the rear.
Okay, then here's where we get into the scrap. Hang on.
Harrigan, where are you going?
Hold course, Shorty, and get down into the valley. I'm going to play hide and seek with that P-38. Talk to you later. Over and out.
Hop, the P-38's seen us. It's coming for us.
Good. Just what I want.
Watch it, Hop. He's coming in.
Hold tight. We're going down.
Wow, he missed.
Watch him, Tank.
He's cutting back again.
That's too late. By the time he gets close enough for another shot, we'll be down in the valley ourselves.
We're down there now. Watch yourself, Hop. You plaster us all over the mountain.
Now we do some plain and fancy wiggling.
Oh, my gosh, I can't look. Those rocks are so close.
All the better for us. P-38 still following?
We're making so many turns, I can't... Yeah, here he comes.
Good. Now let's see him follow us through this.
Oh, no, Hop, we'll never make it.
Shut your eyes. Here we go.
Oh, brother. Another coat of paint.
What's the P-38?
Still coming. Oh, my gosh.
Hey, what happened?
Didn't make it. Hooked a wing in the canyon wall and scattered itself all over the valley.
Okay, cross him off. Now let's get back upstairs. This is only the beginning.
Pulling the stick back hard and opening the throttle wide, Hop sends the Beechcraft clawing up into the sky in safety. Contacting Shorty again by radio, he learns he's safe, and a few minutes later meets the flight of PT-19s.
Hello, Shorty. Are you and your boys ready to go in?
Anytime you are, pal. There's the field, dead ahead.
Good for you. Have your men throttle their engines and glide. They can make it from here.
Roger.
Give me wheels and flaps, Tank. We're ducking in as fast as we can.
Right.
There. I doubt if they'll hear us on the field now.
I don't see nobody down there, but this moonlight is awful tricky.
Turning into the approach. Shorty and the PT's following?
Yeah, they're right behind us. Say, what about Frank and Ed and their boys?
They'll be along in a little while. They know what to do. Stand by. Going in.
Muscles tense, eyes wide and staring, Hop guides his ship carefully down to the runway of the small field, then, light as a feather, drops her on the concrete. He lets the plane roll out as long as possible, and when it finally stops, some 50 yards from the small office building, He and Tank jump out hurriedly.
Well, so far, so good. Still don't see anybody.
Yeah, but I don't like it. Things are too quiet.
Hey, here comes Shorty, leading the PTs in.
Doing a neat job.
We'll wait here for them. Keep your eyes on the office.
Okay.
Certainly don't have many planes here. Just the C-47 and 5 Stinsons.
You mean that's Finley's whole layout?
Looks like it. Those 6 planes, the P-38 and Dudley Stinson. He terrorized the whole country.
Everything okay, Hop?
Here comes Shorty and the boys.
Okay, so far, Shorty.
Sure is quiet, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about.
You and your boys ready?
Yep.
Yeah, sure, we're all set.
All right, then let's go.
Harrigan, what about Frank and Ed?
They'll be along any time now. And when they see our ships on the runway, they'll know what to do.
Hey, listen, will you tell me now what we're going to the office for? Why we only have to hold out there for 15 minutes?
15 minutes is all I need to get the books of the organization, Tank.
The books?
Yeah, they're records. Finley must have some system of bookkeeping to record the payments made by the various airports and pilots in the organization.
So what good will they do?
Plenty. The United States government is pretty tough on people who make money and don't pay their income tax.
Hey, that's a swell angle, Harrigan.
Easy now. Here's the office. Tank and I'll go inside. You and your men wait out here, Shorty, and cover us.
You bet. Good luck, Hop.
Thanks. Come on, Tank.
Right.
We're in luck. It isn't locked.
I smell a rat.
Come on, quietly. Close the door. Okay, now let's have a look around.
Don't bother, gentlemen.
Lights, Mr. Brown.
Yeah, boss.
Finley, it's a trap.
It's a wise observation, Tinker. I wouldn't try to escape, Mr. Harrigan. Your friends are all being taken care of by my men outside. And Luigi's well equipped to handle the 2 of you. Now, Harrigan, here's the application of membership. You will please sign on the dotted line.
Sliding a sheet of paper across the desk, Finley settles back in his chair and stares triumphantly at Hop. So the boys have walked into a trap, and Hop realizes that unless he signs, his life, as well as those of the pilots with him, may be forfeit. We'll know what happens in just a moment, gang, so stand by. Gang, the real-life heroes of the Air Force really had some amazing adventures during World War II. About 50 of these dramatic incidents are related in the Air Force's brand-new authorized book, Silver Wings, which will be out on February 20th. There's the story of Captain Tommy Lanphier, Jr., a P-38 pilot who streaked northward over the Solomon Islands in the South Pacific and shot down Admiral Yamamoto, commander of the Imperial Japanese Navy. You remember it was Yamamoto who scornfully boasted that when Japan won the war, he would dictate peace terms in the White House. Another story tells about Staff Sergeant Joe Jones, who escaped with his life when his B-17 bomber broke in half 17,000 feet in the air over Europe. Jones, alone in the separated tail section, floated down to Earth, a miracle of the Air Forces. There's the story of ex-Olympic runner Louis Zamperini, who survived 48 days without food and water in an open life raft on the sun-baked Pacific, then ended up spending 26 months of torture in Jap prison camps and lived to tell his story. There's the yarn about an Air Force lieutenant who fought his greatest battle while in an enemy submarine far under the storm-tossed surface of the Mediterranean Sea. Adventures of the gallant aircraft spotters who faced wild native headhunters in the lonely mountains of the Burma-India border. Of a red-headed hero of the B-29s who carried a 1,300-degree burning white-hot bomb in his bare hands to save his plane and 11 crewmates. All these stories and many more are related in the exciting book Silver Wings, which you can get at your local bookstores on February 20th. Always remember, America needs flyers. And now back to our story. Walking straight into a trap set by Tobias Finley, Hop and Tank now face their deadly enemy in his office. Flanked by his aides, Brown and Lucci, Finley leans forward and taps a sheet of paper on the desk.
Comedy is over, Harrigan. You will join our organization now, or you and your men will not leave this field alive.
Don't do it, Hop.
Shut up, Tinker.
Make me.
Luigi, take over.
Yes, Luigi. That crude young man needs a lesson in manners.
Okay.
Tank, no.
Oh, mop the floor with that big ape.
Get him, Luigi. Tie him in knots.
Yeah.
Tank, look out.
What? Jump him, Jenny's.
Boss, something's wrong.
Damn, Tank.
You bet.
Brown, look out!
No, you don't, Harrigan.
This, Brown, now latch onto this. Yep. Tank, how are you doing?
Give me this muscle bar located a boxing lesson. That's it, Frankenstein. Lead with your chin.
Nice work, Tank.
That cleans him up. Harrigan, Tinker, you okay?
Everything's under control, Ed. You showed up just in time.
Anybody hurt out there? No, a couple of scratches, bruises, maybe, that's all.
Swell. And look, the safe is wide open. There are all the records.
Don't you dare touch them, Harrigan.
Oh, no? Finley, I've got news for you. Those records will be turned over to the government. Your organization is finished.
And how it's finished. Now you can start organizing at Alcatraz.
With the situation entirely under control, Hop and Tank remove the precious books and, taking Finley and his aides prisoner, leave the Five Peaks Airport. The following afternoon, Hop and Tank relate the entire story to Gail Nolan at Lakeville.
So that's how we did it, Gail. The whole gang is wiped up.
Yeah, we turned the books over to a guy from the income tax department. He says they got enough on Finley to keep him in the jug for 10 years at least.
Oh, boy, that's wonderful. But Hop, what happened outside the office? How did the fight start?
Ed Blake and Frank Boland showed up with their men.
Yeah, Finley's men were so busy keeping Shorty Candler and his boys under control, they didn't notice the rest of the squadron landing. Pipers and their anchors are just as good as gliders, you know.
Didn't I tell you those light planes would come in handy, Tank?
Yeah.
But what about Harry Charles' murder? That's still hanging over your head.
No, not now, it isn't. We have Luigi's gun. The ballistics test will show he fired the shots that killed Charles.
Well, then, we're in the clear?
Completely.
Oh, thank goodness.
You could say that again. Look, Hop.
I know just what you're going to say, Tank. We've had a vacation coming to us for a long time. And now we're going to take it. Roll out the Beechcraft, pal. We're on our way.
So, gang, as Hop and Tank rush out of the office to their plane, ending another thrilling adventure, we say so long to our friends. Yeah, that's right, for after 6 unbroken years of broadcasting the exciting story of their escapades, the boys are taking a well-earned vacation. But maybe when they return, they'll have many more interesting adventures to relate. That is, if you still want them to. And if you do, I'd suggest you write and tell them so. Drop a note to them, care of your local station, then keep listening and watch the radio listings of your newspaper.
And now this is Hop Harrigan saying thanks for listening, gang, and keep 'em flying.
This is Tank Tinker saying so long for now.
So long, Hop. And you too, Tank. Happy landings. Hop Harrigan is a transcribed, copyrighted feature appearing in All American Comics magazine.